pleased to announce that Michael Perry is here to speak to us. As you know, or may not know, he is an author of articles that have appeared in Esquire, Salon.com, The Onion, and many other fine publications. Also, he is a contributing editor at Men's Health. And he has written multiple books, he performs with his band, and he is a multi-talented man. And a man of disguises. I didn't recognize him with the beard. So it's my very great pleasure to introduce Michael Perry and have him speak for us today.
Thanks. Yeah, it's the deer hunting beard, but I left it on for an extra couple of weeks. I'm glad I did. I used it yesterday. I don't know what it was like up here, but down there we got buried. So got 22 or 24 inches, depending on who got to the cafe first. I was like that whole, I think I did a thing for Wisconsin Public Television once, and I don't remember if I wrote about it or not, but about one thing you learn pretty quick when you move to country like this. So you go to the cafe when you have important news to share, or at a feed mill will also suffice. I go to the feed mill now when I have important news. But the key is with the whole cold thing and the amount of snow is to never ever go first. But the other, so if someone asks you how cold it was at your place, or like they say where I'm from, how cold was it by you? You just kind of find a way to fudge until they give you a hard number, and then you beat it by 2 degrees. Because invariably, if you go first, then the other guy, you'll say, oh yeah, it's 20 below, and they go, oh, it's 22 below at my house. And then they'll say, and that was on the milk house thermometer, which always reads about 2 degrees high. And one of my other things I've talked about before is how I love the whole, there's this whole ceremony of pity that you go through if you're a farmer and you break something. And I always say, you know, first of all, you have to actually, you go to the feed mill or the cafe, you make sure and actually have the part with you, because you want tangible evidence of tragedy. And then you sit down at the counter and you talk about the fact that you busted a worm gear on the manure spreader. Always helps to have the actual terminology to it. If you can say it's the worm gear, then everyone can nod. And then, as I said, it's always important to be able to pull it out and actually show people the broken part, because that's, as I said, tangible. And then the key is always to, right at the end, too, you just, when they're ready to leave, the guy takes his part and says, yeah, going off to North Star Implement and get one of these. How much you reckon a little chunk of iron like this would run you? People make guesses, and then you always tell them no, another 25 bucks more than that. And then, of course, walk off enshrined or shrouded in a cloud of agricultural martyrdom, which is, I can say this because I'm from farmers and I grew up with farmers, that farmers like to whine. I mean, that's part of the gig. You know, they have a lot to whine about, but they also are professional grade. So my deal this morning, or I guess it's this afternoon now, I don't have any specific plan. I'll be doing a reading and kind of performance tonight at the university down the road. But I thought today I would just shoot the breeze a little bit, and then I would love if you just ask me some questions. They can be about whatever you want, and then I'll just ramble about that. I can bring you up to speed a little bit on. Everyone always says, when are you going to get another book out? And I have the same question. One of the deals with me is that I do a lot of stuff interstitially between. I wish that every day I would just get down or get up and brew some herbal tea and sit down and light a vanilla candle and write, but that's not really the way it works. And the state of the publishing industry being what it is, I do a lot of time on the road speaking and performing to supplement the writing income. And also we have a few animals on the farm there, and so I wish I could crank out a book every 6 months, but it usually takes me a couple of years. So I have 2 books that are, and also I'm doing magazine work in between, so I'm on the verge of whining like a farmer. So I have 2 books due out in 2012, I say that with a kind of a smile because I don't think my editors have any idea how far behind I am. But on the contract it says 2012. The first I'm doing, this is a new one for me. Well, first of all, I'm doing another memoir, which is called memoir. I think that sounds very fancy. Basically, it's just me telling stories. But and I'm also quite embarrassed by the fact that this will be my 4th memoir. I'll be 46 in a couple of weeks. It's ridiculous, but it's what the publisher wants, and so I want to keep the publisher happy. But I think you should be, 70 or something before you start writing memoirs, let alone 4 of them. But to be excited, they preface it always by saying, "We just had a meeting, we had a great idea, and we just know you're going to love it." That's all I always go. I'll be the judge of that. And when Population was coming out, they said, "We've had a meeting and we have this great idea for launching the book. We want to come to New Auburn, we'll get caterers, and we're going to have a book release party, and we want it to have a rural theme, so we're going to, if we can get some straw bales and those gingham tablecloths, and we want to do a barbecue for the community." And I said, that's such a bad idea. And I forbade them. I said, no, that's in some ways insulting. I know they didn't mean it that way. But now, I said, you guys want to come to the chicken barbecue, that'd be great, but you got to pay $5 like everybody else. But part of the reason I don't have a problem, as I said, is I'm not looking to blow the lid off. However, I want to write honestly too. So in Wisconsin, or in Population 485, one of the ways I deal with that is, you can just write about events in such a way that people understand. There are meth labs next door to my brother's place. You understand there is domestic abuse, without necessarily having to choose one particular character. I remember domestic abuse, I write about living next to the tavern and the stuff that spills out into the street at 2 in the morning and how disturbing it is, or the things we see when we go in. So you can cover the grit and you can cover the downside that way. The other thing I think that helps me is that there is at base a certain respect there. I even maintain that it is part of being respectful to write honestly about that stuff. It would have been disrespectful for me to pretend that New Auburn is this beautiful little bucolic village that they were envisioning. But there's also respect in the fact that I love New Auburn. That's where I am of and from New Auburn, even if I'm living on a farm in Fall Creek. That's my first identity. I also wasn't just hanging out for 2 weeks and then going back to write about it. I grew up there. I lived there for another 12 years as an adult and was part of the fire department, not because I was writing about the fire department, but because you joined. So I think I also have that going, so that even if someone disagrees with me, they do understand that they're prejudices. They understand where they lie. And then finally, I think I think it comes back to that respect thing. I try to be honest, but I also, my dad tried to teach me 2 things, and he tried to teach me more than 2 things. But, he always talked about charity and humility, and I'm not very good at either of those things, but I try. And part of humility is just saying, look, I'm in no position to just call everything in black and white. I will present it, and I try to let you know what I'm getting at here, but then ultimately you have to decide for yourself. And as far as writing about the faith, it's interesting. I've had probably more correspondence with people in my church since that book came out, and have found out that quite a few have read it. And I think for the most part it's been pretty good, because it's a little rare, I think, for someone to write about rejecting something and yet still respecting it. So I can't, and that comes back to that honesty thing and respecting. I can't look them in the eye and tell them I believe something I don't. That's deceptive. And so I say, no, I don't believe it, but here's what I saw. And what I saw were people trying to...
Now I got them started.
No, we had it. You said 42?